Let's call the April meeting to order. Please do the roll call.
Mr. Andreessen?
Good evening.
Mrs. Briscoe? Mr. Bush?
Here.
Mrs. McMillan?
Here.
Mrs. Ost? Mrs. Tunney?
Here.
Mrs. Linsky?
Okay, we have a quorum, so please stand for the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we will start with public communication. I only received one here, so we will go with Debbie Blank.
Good evening. I'm just here to give you guys a final update on the Valley for a Cure. It was $3,205 for the Cancer Support Center. And I just want to thank everybody, whether you bought a shirt, whether you were selling raffle tickets for me, whether you gave us a basket, whatever it was, I really appreciate it. And your new person for next year, which most of you already know, it's going to be Michelle Matt. So, but thank you guys again.
Blank. Okay, we'll move on. Presentations. Sixth grade science.
You guys can clap.
I'll go ahead and introduce everyone as you're walking up, and then we'll go ahead and get started. So tonight we have our sixth grade science teachers and several students from their classrooms sharing some information about their most recent unit called Ecosystems and their interactions. In this unit, they dove into the driving question, how do organisms interact with one another in their environments? Throughout the unit, they learned concepts of ecosystem organization, matter cycles, energy flow, population changes, biodiversity, and human impact. And what was really awesome about this unit was they took their learning and they were able to apply that concept into hands-on opportunity through these beautiful pond ecosystems that you see in front of us, so that they were able to see these concepts in real life to help with their research and their observations. So they have prepared a wonderful presentation for you this evening to give you an overview of what their experience looked like in sixth grade science. So to start, we have Mrs. Storino and Miss Elbon here. So I'll let you guys take it from here and introduce the students and your presentation.
All right, Attila, are you ready? So we're going to start with Attila. Attila is going to talk to us about constructing the pond. You can read from there, it's up to you.
We do fun, hands-on experiments to test what we already know about ecosystems and how living things interact with each other. We also build a model of a pond that we'll use all unit long to explore different parts of an ecosystem. Plus, we make concept maps to help us show and organize what we already know.
So here's some pictures of us constructing the ponds.
Well, first of all, once you see up in the upper left corner, the boxes, that's what they come in. And as soon as they hear that cart coming down the hall, they're very excited. And if you see Mrs. Torino with all those white caps, those are all the protists and algae samples that will eventually go into their pond. So those have to be aerated and sorted and come out. And then I actually had students helping us this year. And can you, on the next slide, it's going to show how the actual construction of the pond. You want to tell them about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tell
them what you did.
So first we had to put rocks in, and then on top of that we added soil and wheat. Then we added water to fill it up, and then after that we added the chemicals that Dr. Alban was talking about to start growing the protists and the algae. The algae grow.
All right. Okay, so this is Leo. Leo is going to talk to us. I think I went too far. About how we explore our ponds.
Students perform various investigations throughout the ecosystem unit. Investigations include adding many micro and macro organisms to their pond after viewing them under a microscope. Each week, we test the water in our ponds to see how healthy it is.
Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, so basically, whenever we test our water, we pH test and test the alkalinity to make sure our water is healthy for all of our protists and algae we have in there.
So you can see like they're holding like the little cards right there where they can check the colors and see where it's at on the if it's healthy or if it's unhealthy. They have on this last one, they have mats so that when they're looking in the microscope for microscopic observations, they can see what it is they're actually looking at, not guessing. And we have that for macroscopic observations as well. So they see this every week. Want to talk about that?
Yeah, so basically, we put stuff in our slides to see under a microscope what we can see about the micro, and this is what one of the things we saw.
And we brought some samples up here if anybody wants to take a look under the microscope as to what we see in the microscope each week.
When do we test the water?
Every Friday, we test our waters.
And so here they're making observations of, we have dwarf frogs inside the ponds. There's 4 dwarf frogs in all of the ponds. And all of the students have named their frogs because there's about 4 people per group. So they all got to name their frog. All right, awesome. Thank you. All right, Gabby.
We start learning how ecosystems are organized and get ready to learn even more about them. We also start talking about how engineering and how it continues to nature by thinking about what it would take to build a fake habitat for an animal. Then, with our team, we will write an argument to decide if our animal would be a good fit for an exhibit at Brookfield Zoo. At the end, we use what we learned to apply it to our own model pond ecosystems. So we made these posters, and it says like their habitats, so that we can like explain what to build in their habitats that we make at
Do you remember which
Brookfield
one
Zoo.
you did?
I did three-toed sloth.
Oh, so you want to just talk about like how that?
Mhm.
Go ahead.
So they live in trees and tropical forests in Central and South America. And so when you have to make their habitat, you have to make it like with a lot of trees and make it warmer. And then it depends on like trees and they have to have their food there. And we have to do how it meets their needs and their population. And there are only 48 of three-toed sloths left in the world. And then we have to do 3 ways how it would be good to put them in Brookfield Zoo. And then we wrote the sources where we got all this information from.
Now, when you wrote your argument essay, did you say it would be a good organism to put an exhibit at Brookfield Zoo or not?
I said it would be good because sloths, for some people, are interesting because they're not as fast as monkeys, but they're slower so they can see what they do more.
So really quickly, they had taken this research and then they actually wrote a CER based off of this research. Okay, so now we have Catherine. She's going to talk about ecosystem resources.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
We design and do an experiment to see how the amount of resources like sunlight or water affects how plants grow. Then we think about how that happens in nature too. We also look at data from a model ecosystem to understand how many living things it can support. In the last part of the lesson, we look at what resources are in our own pond models and use what we've learned to figure out how those resources affect our pond ecosystems.
And this is the point when they get to lesson 4. This is when they are ready to put their frogs, because when we first get them, we call them preview frogs, and they're just in one big tank, and we actually have to feed them, change the habitat because it gets dirty. And then once they get to this, the ponds get enough algae, there's enough growing in there, there's enough photos and all that for the frogs to be able to live in that environment, and it's self-sustaining, where we don't have to take care of them anymore. So you can, if you can see some back there, you might see them swimming around. If you look, you'll see them bubbling them up. But this is probably, you see right there, that's where they write their names. That's the most exciting thing. They get them and they get to dump them in there. They put them in there very gently. For the most part, yeah. So that was the day that they put them in. You can see them really excited about these.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so this is Jonathan. He's going to talk to us about energy flow.
After we read about how water moves through an ecosystem, we design a model to show how it works. We make another model to show how energy flows through an African savanna. We also learn why there is usually more prey than predators. Watch a cool demonstration of how energy moves, and make our own models to show how energy moves through different levels in a food chain. All of this helps us understand things like energy transfer, trophic levels, food chains, and food webs. At the end, we use what we've learned and the data from our pond models to build food chains for the living things in our ponds. One way we create an energy flow is creating a model of the water cycle, of the different ways it moves around, like evaporation, condensation, precipitation, percolation, and transpiration.
So all the teams built 3D models of the water cycle.
And one of the things that I don't think we mentioned at the beginning, but all of the classes are in teams. So if it's a very team building curriculum, and they learn really not only just about science, but how to work together as a team. And they realize the importance of working together. And I must say, for the most part, and I'm sure you would agree, that this year the teams work so amazing together. I don't think I've really had to switch many people, like, I don't think this team is working, but this group we are blessed this year with amazing. I mean, not like we aren't every year, but this year especially. They're so good.
So I'm going to talk about organism interactions because they haven't covered it yet. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to do a simulation of how predators hunt their prey. And we do this through a model of owls and mice. Obviously, we can't have real owls and mice in the classroom. So we have like little cutouts, and we use that. They're going to watch videos, and we have cards, and they're going to learn about competition between animals. And then they're going to make their own models of competition based on the things that they've seen and experienced throughout the whole unit. They'll look at different information about different animals and patterns and see how like the different organisms interact with one another. And then they're going to use their pond models to find and explain relationships between the organisms living in there. So there's always like connections. We always go back to the ponds. We always give examples of what's happening within the world, and then we bring it back to the classroom.
And that's what Olivia's going to talk about.
And Olivia, here you go.
At Four Rivers in the Will County Forest Preserve, we got to explore different kinds of ecosystems. We checked out 2 types of river ecosystems in the pond, and we even got to collect samples from them. We tested the water from these places too. We use some different testing methods than the ones we use in class. It's a cool way to see what we've been learning in real life. So in these pictures, we used alkalinity and dissolved oxygen to test the water from the ponds at the Forest Preserve to make sure everything's healthy for all the living things in them. And then in this picture, we collected, we put a net in the water to collect samples to see all the living things inside the water.
And did you find
we found like worms and like mayflies, I think. Yeah.
And we just did this last week. So this is quite fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone in my group found a leech. So that was really cool. And they had this really cool microscope set up where they put the organisms in a petri dish, and we were able to put them underneath the microscope, and a group of people could see what was in the pond and in that organism. That was really cool to see.
The macro
Yeah.
organisms. These are more for micro. That was like a macro thing. It was really cool.
I know we walked away from that field trip like, we got to do this, we got to do that, let's do this.
It was the first year for this one. So,
Thank you.
and our last, I don't even think this is working, is it? Okay. Our last week of school, we go to Hickory Creek because there's another opportunity right in our own community to see a creek and what is in that creek. And also because they've been learning about ecosystems, not just specifically pond ecosystems, but also other ecosystems. We go through the Hickory Creek Forest Preserve, and last year I created an scavenger hunt just because the end of the year is kind of crazy and just wanted to have them really look around and observe. It was pretty challenging, don't you agree? Yeah, it was very challenging for them because it was pictures that they had, and they had to go with a partner, and they had to find very specific detailed pictures and then put them in the order that they occurred on the path. And we went all the way, if you're familiar with Hickory Creek, we went all the way up to the bridge, and then we stopped and came back. And then I took pond samples because I didn't want them all going down in there. But I took some samples from the pond, and then the next day we were able, not the pond, the creek. We were able to look at samples from the creek and see some different things that they didn't even see in their pond. So that was pretty exciting. We saw some frogs. Some of the kids they saw, I don't know if that's a toad or a frog. I think it's a toad. And then they got to kind of explore around in Hickory Creek. Yeah. So that is it. Thank you.
Okay, I'm just going to go too. We brought some samples if you want to come up and look at it underneath the microscope. They've captured some samples under the microscope, and you can see the claws kind of swimming in there. So please feel free to take a look at it.
And then we'll get everyone's picture together too in front of, do you want to stand maybe behind the pond?
Give them to your parents. That's good. We can go on.
Yeah, I was
What's the
Come on over here, you guys. Come behind.
Okay. Parents, you can leave if you guys want to. It's you can stay if you want. It is past practice that they leave. So. Okay. All right, moving on. The next item on the agenda is discussion on board reorganization. So, just wanted to let the public know, and so everyone's all on the same page. So, the election was April 1st. The election results are posted on the website if you look at the county clerk's site. However, they will not get certified until April 22nd. So therefore, we have to have a reorganizational meeting after this meeting. So we've tossed out a couple dates as far as that goes. The reorganization has to happen within 40 days, which would put it at May 11th. So just kind of wanted to toss that out there. And right now we're looking at either October 28th, April 28th, sorry, what did I say?
October.
Wow, that is way off. April 28th or May 5th for that right now. I've heard from 6 of the board members, so hopefully we can get, I think it's going to be October 28th. April. Oh, I am obsessed with October. April. April. Yes. So thank you, Julie, for making some changes your plans to make that work. We had another conflict with another board member on the May 5th. So April 28th might be the date, but so just so everyone knows, we'll have that posted. Same as normal meetings, the postings will be on the door and things like that. It'll be a very limited agenda. You basically have to reorganize the board in the sense to pick new officers. And that's about it. Oh, and we also have to pick the meeting schedule for the upcoming year. Okay. Any discussions on that?
Eric, I just want to confirm that we think it's going to start at 7, right?
That would be the plan if it works for everybody. I mean, that's kind of the standard.
Standard.
I mean, we start at 6 before for special situations, but
Yeah,
7 would be the
7
standard.
would be. And yeah, because that should be a quick meeting. And we will have it streamed, right? Because it's a normal board meeting.
It would be treated as a normal board meeting.
Right. Okay.
It would be treated as like
Board meeting.
I would think it would be treated. I mean,
Okay. Thank you.
okay, moving on. No other questions. We'll go to information reports. Finance Committee.
Maybe. The finance committee was held on April 14th, which was a Monday. Is it on? Yeah. And Trumco came in. Kevin Garmy was the gentleman that came in for Trumco and basically explained the roofing stuff that we will be having done during the summer. And basically, we found out that a roof is like an onion with lots of layers. And then we had Mr. Henson come in and do a presentation. And Mrs. Munt came in and did a special education presentation as well. And thank you both for coming in and taking time out of your nights. The next meeting will be held on May 12th at 7 p.m. in the boardroom. And we will be discussing with Dr. Shaw the amended budget, O&M with Dr. Shaw and Mr. Rana, and transportation funding with Mr. Walker. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Henson or Mrs. Munt?
Well, I have a question for the chair of the finance committee. Is this when you would like me to ask it? Oh, well, I'll ask it now. So the finance committee meeting was restructured, and the board members that are not the chair or the vice chair, and this just happened on Monday, but when we walked in the room, normally it's a square table that everybody's able to participate in the meeting. And the intention, now this is a board committee, and the intention of the board committee when it was established was that this was the forum in which board members would be able to dig in deeper into financial topics, whatever's on the calendar. And typically it's the same things every year that are reviewed again and again. So in the past, what we had done is been participants in the meeting and asked questions. And then that procedure during this past year was changed to where questions had to be submitted in advance, but then they weren't answered. And then we had to submit them in the normal board meeting. But then now we have to have a board majority for any board member questions to be answered. So, and now this past meeting is when board members other than Ms. Zielinski and Mr. Bush were put into the audience with other parents and visitors to the meeting. So the board was not advised of this setup change, and I'm just curious, with the intention that this is a board committee for the board to be able to dig into these financial topics. When are board members going to be able to participate in the committee and submit questions on the topics before the committee? What is the vision by the chair, and what is the reason that these changes have happened over the past year? My question is directed to the chair of the finance committee. No, there's one.
Two.
There's
co-chairs.
there's a chair and there's a vice chair, right?
So
You start.
As the chair, I would like to have the chair answer. I believe, I was told in the past that the chair is the one that is able to make the decisions. And so I would like for the chair to address the board on what decisions have been made and why, and in what manner is the board, other board members able to participate in this activity of digging into these topics.
Well, during the last finance committee, yeah, the finance member committee was set up differently, but that's how it was originally set up when we got on it. What was it, 6 years ago? It was set up as a table like that. And we had committee members come to us and shared their concerns about non-finance committee members sitting at the table and participating and asking questions. And because of the concerns, the finance committee table was reconverted back to the way it was originally 6 years ago.
So this is a board committee. The committee works for the benefit of the board. The committee members that are not board members, I understand, first of all, the concerns were not shared with the board. This is a board committee. If there were concerns shared by committee members, it should have been shared with the board. But how is the board, other board members besides Mr. Bush and Ms. Zielinski, able to benefit from the work of the finance committee if we're not able to ask questions on the material? We go over the budget, we go over the audit. I mean, there are major topics that are the board's business, which is the reason it's a board committee. And I feel I'm being pushed out to pasture so that I am not able in any way to engage into the understanding or, asking questions or modifying, having any impact into these topics. This is our committee, and there's two parents that have more of a voice in what happens than I do. And I can't, I mean, I feel like I can't even ask anything. How can we have a $29 million budget and there's no place or time for me to ask questions?
I'm not gonna sit here and fight about it, or we can have a discussion later. We have a lot on the agenda, so let's try and stay.
This is a topic on the agenda. We don't discuss outside of open board meeting. We discuss at an open board meeting. That is the law. I'm asking you to tell me how we can engage as board members.
We can have a conversation about this later. We have a lot of stuff on the agenda. Moving on.
This is our board meeting. This is when we discuss stuff. And it's on the agenda. We're supposed to discuss it, and you're shutting me down, and you shut me out of the finance committee. You shut me out of asking questions. When are my questions when am I able to ask questions about the budget and the audit and the amended budget? Like, when can I do that? You're preventing me from doing my job.
For what it's worth, I will share this. When we were all together last summer and we went over best practices, it was communicated and decided that the members of the community, members of that group, that committee, those are the ones talking. And when I went to one meeting and I said something, it was fine, but I was politely reminded, hey, you're not sitting on the committee. You know, it is what it is. And then I went on living my life. But that was the agreement we all made. If you're not on the committee, you can be there in the audience. There's no problem with that. But the committee is made up of 2 board members, parents, and staff. I am not a member of that committee. Neither are you.
So that's fine. I accept that. I'm not a member of the committee, even though it's a board committee. I'm not a member. I cannot participate in a board committee as a board member. Apparently that is the edict. So my question is, when am I able to ask questions on the topics before the finance committee? When am I able to do that?
Okay. So first of all, let's step back. You're confusing 2 different things here. So we need to separate that because you're misleading right now. The whole thing about asking questions and Mr. Stein getting the board majority to answer those questions has nothing to do with the finance committee. Let's just make that straight. That has nothing to do with the finance committee. That came out of a meeting with IASB on best practices because there was concern from Mr. Stein that staff members were exceeding the amount of their time was being spent on board questions. He came up with the solution that says we will ask questions. The majority of the board will decide what those questions will be answered. That's nothing to do with the finance committee. Let's just be clear. That has nothing to do with the finance committee. That happened 2 nights ago. Finance committee, the chair has said she heard complaints from the committee. There were changes made. There was a changes made. That's her job as the chair. Now, to my understanding, no one said that the community could not answer questions at that point in time. In that meeting, Megan presented, Lincoln presented. They looked at the whole audience when they asked the FAD questions. They didn't look at the table. They looked at the, because I remember when I walked in, Dr. Shaw asked me, are only the committee members asking questions? And what did I say?
You said no, questions can be answered by anybody, asked and will answer to anybody. Questions can be asked by anybody.
Thank you. So no one said you couldn't answer questions. You made an assumption. And that's okay, but you made an assumption. Don't attack Lisa and say that she did all this stuff. No, she responded to the committee and she reorganized the table. We did not instruct, or she did not instruct, to my knowledge, any of the presenters to say, no, you can't ask questions. Only the committee could do that. So that's how it was set up. And as far as, please don't confuse the finance committee with what was done on board questions for these meetings. It's two different things. So, going forward, I would suggest that if you have questions, then until noted, you can ask them at the meetings. If it's going to be changed going forward, then the finance committee, I don't know. We got a reorganizational meeting on, wait for it, not October, April 28th. At that time, you know, whoever's the new finance committee chair could make changes. I don't know. Might be Lisa, might be me, could be Sam, could be Julie, could be any of the seven of us. And then that new finance committee can move forward with the meeting. That's going to be on May 11th.
Okay, thank you. So I think the answer to the question is I can ask questions at the finance committee meeting. So that's what I'm going to take as my directive that is appropriate for me to participate while sitting in the audience at the finance committee meeting. I engage, even though it's set up to have public comment. And I mean, does that mean any member of the public is able to comment at any time and ask questions? Because I was told that's not how the finance committee worked. So I think now what you're saying, anybody sitting in the audience in the finance committee meeting is able to ask questions, including me?
My understanding is it would not be members of the community. That's why there's public comment. So board members, until otherwise noted by the finance committee, should be able to ask questions. Now, finance committee changes that and communicates that out to the change, and that's fine.
Okay. As of right now, the finance committee chair, Lisa, has not communicated that. So that's what we're going to assume is the case. Now,
Yes.
in the past, so I just want to make sure that that's fine. I'm just going to let it lie. We're going to ask questions in the finance committee. And I think going forward, considering there's only two people sitting at the table, that the board gets some type of product out of the finance committee meeting. There should be recommendations coming to the board based on the work that the finance committee is doing. We should benefit somehow from that. And having a report saying what was presented isn't really a product of work that's benefiting the board. So I would hope that we could get to that point sometime.
Okay, moving on. Policy committee.
I just want to say that there were two really good in-depth presentations from Ms. Munt and Mr. Henson that can be found on the finance, if you go through the finance link on Board Book. So please feel free to go there because they were really helpful presentations. Sorry, I digress. Policy committee update. I know you've all been waiting for the spring update. The press spring update will be coming out in May. I know you all want to attend the May 8th webinar, but I'll take one for the team here and I'll report back with, I'm sure Mr. Stein will be on pins and needles waiting for that one as well. Know if anything changes. Thank you.
Any questions for Julie, policy committee? Okay, Mr. Stein.
Thank you. Just a couple, three things to note here. The Superintendent's Committee on Custodial and Maintenance Services. The committee met again on March 31st to discuss the 7 proposals that we received at the March 17th bid opening. I believe that was narrowed down to 4. I was not in attendance at this meeting. And then that was narrowed down to 4. Then on Monday, that group then narrowed that 4 down to 2. Then on Monday, April 14th, this week, we had interviews with the 2 companies who were our 2 finalists. We plan to meet again to discuss these 2 final companies, along with what our final recommendation will be regarding staffing. So we're very close at getting to a final company and final recommendation to you. So at the May regular meeting of the board, we plan to bring, like I said, this final recommendation for custodial services company, and we will also have 3 maintenance personnel for hiring. Just an update, if Lincoln, if you want to dovetail in off of this boardroom audio visual information, Lincoln has been working to get quotes. I believe as of right now, we have 3, Lincoln, has that been updated?
We have quotes from 4 different companies.
Okay, we did get the 4th one then, okay.
Not every company has submitted.
An apples to apples kind of.
Correct, yeah.
Bit of information. So Lincoln is still working with them to say, we need something that looks the same from all of them so that we're comparing like things to like things in terms of equipment. Correct. Any tariff issues there, Lincoln?
I'm hearing from a couple of the vendors or the companies I reached out to that pricing may be changing on some of the pricing they've already submitted as early as of May 1st. And I know at least one company is holding off for a little bit before they give us another quote on a separate setup. So.
Gotcha. Okay. So suffice it to say, I think we'll have more solid information for you at the May meeting. Is that a fair statement,
Sure.
Lincoln?
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Traditionally, you have received what is attached, a certified staffing presentation. And behind my report that I'm reading off of right now, you'll see the 25-26 proposal. We use this to ensure that the district is equipped with the appropriate number of qualified staff, educators, to meet the academic, social, and emotional needs of all of our students. This proposal is based on projected student enrollment, which is what we utilize right now for next year. Class size guidelines, and I want to repeat and remind the board, these are simply guidelines. What you see in there, those are not hard and fast rules. There's nothing in the contract that says something happens when you get into the low, the target, the concern, or the high. Although there is a mechanism, I would point out, in the MTA contract for teachers to have union-directed conversations about class size. We have not received any requests for that. I think the MTA can verify that we have not had any requests from teachers to have these discussions. I will say, though, that I believe on an annual basis, I don't want to speak entirely for Dr. Rolanitis, but he does meet with his building leadership team to kind of go over the organization of having 6 sections of some courses and 8 sections of some courses. And they did that again probably about a month ago. And the building leadership team agreed that the way the model is designed at MJHS right now is really benefiting the programmatic structures, particularly in ELA and math growth that we've seen over the last few years. Anything that should be added to that, Dr. Mike? Okay. I do truly believe that this plan balances fiscal responsibility with the district's obligation to provide high-quality instruction and support services, and ensuring that each student has access to certified skilled educators. So overall, what we're asking the board to consider is to allow us to increase our certified staff by what we call 2 FTEs, full-time equivalents. We're asking you to allow us to hire 2 more teachers for next year. And those teachers, one would be in special education at the junior high, and one would be a bilingual education teacher here at MES. So that's in general the proposal. I mean, that's kind of the summary of the proposal. And you can see on the pages in between there that there's kind of the supporting data and the structure and location on page 8 and 9 of where we're looking to include those 2 additional FTEs.
Any questions from Mr. Stein?
Yes. Steve, are you going to go through the presentation, or is this?
That was, I mean, I was just providing the overall summary there. I mean, do you have specific questions on specific slides? Because really all of it is just aimed at the fact that we're asking for 2 additional FTEs, 1 at the junior high, 1 at MES. So.
Okay, I just wanted to know if I should be waiting to have I have a couple questions on your
Go ahead.
report, and then I have a couple questions on the staffing.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So, first, do you on this custodian and maintenance services, this is, the second month, this is basically really kind of the only information the board members, that are not, serving on the committee is getting. Do you guys have like notes or something that you can share on what's discussed and shared, like the information that's shared in that committee that you can share with the board members?
I mean, I don't know that we have like a scribe of notes from these discussions. I mean, we have the proposal that was sent out. We have the information that was submitted in terms of the bids. Terry and other board members, is there
I can help
anything
in a little bit.
else?
We each of the 6 of us took notes in the interviews with the first 4 firms, and then each of the 6 of us took notes in the scoring card on the last 2. So we do have pretty robust notes and scoring cards. We had a list of questions that we asked, and we all took notes for their answers. So we have all of those data points that we use for our decision-making process. We started to put together a slide deck for everybody from the ad hoc committee. So there's kind of 2 different things going on where members are similar. In the ad hoc committee, the slide deck will be part of the presentation for our overall recommendation. And then in the interview team, we have more questions and answers and scorecards and analysis and some of that kind of information. So we do have a lot of paper and a lot of notes, but nothing that's been where they were codified and compiled in a final type of report. They're just raw data points.
Okay, and that makes sense to me. So I guess, can you confirm that the expectation is that at the May board meeting, we'll get an information item with all of that data and not for a action until June then?
No,
it'll be an action in May. The information was last month, and I think even maybe the month before that, when we asked for approval to issue the RFP, the intent was, with the timeline included, that it would be an action item. And I think the action item at that point in time was, our target was tonight, was April. And so when we had the information item for the request for the RFP, the action item was 3 months ahead of time for April, which is actually going to end up being May. So we had first issue the RFP, then 1 month where we had the conversation about, can we create the superintendent ad hoc committee? And then we had this month, which is, here's our update tonight. And then next month will be higher, because we do want to look at the timeliness of the hire in order to make sure that the service provider can adequately staff our needs. And we need to make sure we give them time to be able to accomplish that.
Okay, so here's my concern is that there's, I feel like there's a lot of questions in my head as far as even the current costs. I looked at the alpha, I've looked at the contract, I've looked at the invoices, and it's not really clear what our current cost is that we would obviously want to use when we compare the proposed new contract to replace. So I assume that that's part of what the committee is doing, is digging into those current costs and looking at that analysis when you're evaluating, the companies that have, and the bids, I guess. So basically the timeline concerns me, because the board at this point doesn't have much more than a paragraph and 2 consecutive board meetings. And will be, I assume that means we'll be provided the information 5 days before we vote. And then at that point, when we're provided the information, in order for questions to be answered by board members, all board members would need to agree that those questions are worthy of an answer before they're answered. And then we would be expected to vote regardless. So can we work on getting the board something, you know, in the next 2 weeks rather than just wait to have it all delivered with the board packet? Because it doesn't leave us much time to look at it, is basically the concern.
It would really, some of that would be based on the availability of all the members of the committee, I suppose. You know, what does that look like? Bringing everybody together in a time frame. So it would probably be based on the availability of the
I mean, we can
participants.
certainly talk about scheduling that within the next week or two. Yeah.
We have most of the data points.
Yeah.
It's a big decision, so the more lead time we get in evaluating that data that comes out of the committee, the better. If the expectation is that we are voting on it next month. So thank you, Dr. Shaw. Lincoln, Steve, this boardroom auto visual. So just to kind of backtrack, I had submitted a request that the board give their opinion on providing a recorded board meeting to our public. Right now we stream it, and for the past probably couple years, there's been parents and community members that have been recording it and providing it, on YouTube. And so I'd asked the board, can we revisit doing it ourselves and providing it to the public? And it's my impression that that's what this is the auto visual quotes that Lincoln is getting. But I guess I'm confused because I just was asking if the board is agreeable to asking Lincoln the feasibility of providing a recording of our meeting. And I was told that 4 board members said yes and 3 board members said no. The identities of the people, I don't know, but at the end of the day, 4 board members said yes, but I don't understand how that has now turned into getting bids on an auto visual equipment upgrade of some sort. Why is that necessary just to provide recordings, I guess is my question.
I help you for a second. I follow this online. Biggest complaint we ever hear is poor audio quality. And in all fairness, this was a COVID patch job to try to let our parents know what was going on when they couldn't be within a pool noodle of each other. And I have no idea what it's going to cost. And the public should know that there is a cost to all of it. But at the very least, if they can hear us better, that's nice. Beyond there, that's up for discussion. But that's the major complaint I ever see online. And if we're trying to figure that out, that's nice.
Yeah, and I believe it all started is if we were going to follow through with this project, we wanted to do it right the first time and, not end up with.
And it would need new equipment.
Yeah, something that we would need to replace, every couple of years. We would probably want to do it just one time, see if we can get it to last for as long as we could.
Okay, so it sounds like we're trying to do 2 different things now. The one question A is the board agreeable to providing recordings to our website of the meetings? And question B is the board agreeable to approving an expenditure of some sort to upgrade our auto visual of our meeting to provide a better stream and improved recording also, if we decide to?
My understanding, Mrs. McMillan, was that it was the latter and not the former was really what was being asked. What I was told is that go ahead and get quotes on new updated audio visual equipment as long as it doesn't take Lincoln a tremendous amount of time to deal with that. That's really my understanding of what this stems from. Now, the other issue with regard to recording the meetings, that's not within my purview.
So the email I sent to the board was not to upgrade our audiovisual equipment. The email I sent to the board members was, can we ask Lincoln to provide us a feasibility of providing recorded board meetings to the public, because the public has been doing it themselves for 2 years, and the you can see how many people are watching those meetings. So clearly it's in demand, if you will. People are watching them. So that was my question. When I heard an update, I heard that the majority of the board, 4 board members, me being one of them, said, yes, it is okay to have Lincoln do that. I don't know how that turned into upgrade the audio visual. I don't understand where that came from, but that's where I think they're 2 different things. I brought it up.
And I think what I heard from board members was, go ahead and look at quotes of audio-visual equipment. And I think maybe there's some intertwining there, but that's where we're kind of focused right now, to be very honest.
Okay, so can we...
The tech side of the equipment.
And that's great, because
Yeah,
I think that we do need an upgrade, and the microphones go in and out, so that's great. But can we, in the meantime, get the board to agree right now that it's okay to just record the meetings and publish them to our website? Like, if 4 people have already said, yes, it's okay, how do we just get that in the meantime?
For 1 sec, just because I want to give my opinion, I guess. My email to Steve was that I was fine with Lincoln spending a few hours at most on getting information on upgrading it. My reasoning for it is because if we as a district are now going to take on the responsibility of providing something like that to the public, it needs to be done correctly. We can't take on that we are now responsible for providing this so that they have information when they only have half the information because things are cutting in and out. So if we're going to take on that type of responsibility, we have to ensure that it would be done properly. I also think that putting it to our website would absolutely incur a cost. I don't pretend to know what kind of space allowances we have, but if you're going to upgrade more space for more things, which you would need for tons of videos, that would then come with a cost, is my assumption, which is then part of my question of, I would like to know exactly what cost would go into before I okay something like that. Thus, then my request was maybe if we get the information, not yes, go ahead and start recording. So that was my answer.
The quick answer to your thing is no. We're not going to there's not an action item on here on the agenda that says, yes, let's approve streaming videos. It's not on the agenda. So we're not voting on that tonight. My understanding is that they are looking into the options. They will present those options with the costs, and then the board can make a decision at that point in time, whether they want to stream or not. But just saying, yes, let's stream it without understanding the cost, I think it would have been a no. When you got 4 votes. The reason it got 4 votes was because we agreed that it would be analyzed and understand the cost before a decision is made. So going forward, we'll put an action item on there, but not tonight because we didn't have that.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And I just want to say this for everybody or anybody who wasn't at the finance committee meeting. A member of the finance committee meeting, coincidentally, is also somebody that has publicly recorded it for us. Or I'm sorry, not for us, has recorded it for the community, if you will, and volunteered his time to show the district or anybody interested in how he does that at no cost. So that offer is on the table from a member of the finance. You heard, he said it to you, you know who I'm talking about. And so, we should take our community, and he's a member of the finance committee. We should take him up on evaluate, or if he has got something that's not going to cost anything, then let's talk to him about that. I'm going to move on to the to the staffing presentation unless anybody else has anything else on this topic. Okay. A couple things on this staffing is, we talk about the averages and how that's the critical measure, right? And that's where we are gauging according to the state guidelines. And I understand this is evidence-based funding, but nonetheless, the state guidelines are how we color code.
No, I don't believe
Oh.
that's the case. No, these color codings on page 6 have nothing to do with EBF. My understanding is that this was some sort of, and I would ask any of you that are here to help me with some more longevity than I have. I believe these numbers came somehow from Dr. White. So these are not EBF numbers, because the EBF numbers are actually lower, I believe, than these numbers. And those evidence-based funding numbers are simply numbers that the state has calculated through various research projects, grants, studies that say, if you could create kind of in their eyes the ideal school model, these are the numbers that you would use. Am I misspeaking there at all? No. So you can find all kinds of differences with those EBF numbers that say we are short so many types of staff members in this kind of area, and you're very weighted heavy in other areas. So those are district-specific sorts of decisions that you make based on the specific needs of your population. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just looking at what Mark Cohen said last year when I asked, is the adequacy target is a number generated by the Illinois State Board of Education, and it is a basis for evidence-based funding. So he had the adequacy target there. I think that it's clear. I guess it's just a reference point.
Yes, and I removed it simply because I didn't want to try to confuse that number with any of the numbers in our class averages, and then with this chart here that was on page 6, because it just seemed, in my eyes, it seemed a little jumbled up, having that adequacy target and then this other set of guidelines that you have on page 6. So I just thought it was confusing.
Okay, so still the yellow that you highlighted is a concern. Okay, so here and here, these are the questions. So I asked questions where it was specific, especially in 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade. They don't have a consistent number of 7 sections. We've touched upon that just now, talking about the science and social studies. So the chart is making it seem like there's 7 sections in 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade, but the reality is there's not 7. It depends on the subject.
And I think it's also important to note that when you look at that total enrollment number there, that also includes students in some of our self-contained special education classes that are in and out of certain rooms and not others. So that's why those students are included in the total estimated total enrollment there. But when you look at average class sizes, that's, I can't give you, some classes have an average class size of 23 in kindergarten for their carpet time, their calendar time at the beginning of the day, and some of them have differences at other points in the day. So I have to give you just kind of a general snapshot, or I'd have 5 pages of numbers for every classroom. Mrs. Munt, is there a better way to explain that?
No, I just wanted to also draw your attention to we house the self students in our building as well. So that's something to keep in mind, that those students come in and out, so they may be factored into some of these numbers as well. And
Oh.
they may only be in for a portion of their day.
So the push in, is it called push in?
We can call it that. Yeah.
Okay. Those are figured into these averages?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because-
so it may inflate some of these numbers because they're still enrolled in our school district and in our total count, although they may be a student that is technically a Manhattan student, technically a Frankfurt student. So that's something to keep in mind.
And not
they're
in
going to
that
inflate
first
our
grade
numbers.
class all day long.
Okay.
Correct.
So I think that, I guess at the end of the day, the questions I asked on this proposal were not answered, but I asked them last year as well, and they were answered. They pertain to basically what's the high, right? So instead of looking at an average based on 7 sections at the junior high, we know that there's only 6 sections, for example, right, in social studies and science. So those classrooms, therefore, probably have more students in them. And so the question I asked Mark Cohen was, what is the high? How many classrooms individually have more than 25 students? And what is the high, and how many classrooms are there of each subject, science, social studies, ELA, and math? And my concern is that he had reported that there was some classrooms, and he tells me the number of sections and the number of classrooms that had 27, 28 students in them. And I look at the number of enrollment, for example, in 8th grade, and the current enrollment is 14 students more than it was last year. If we had classrooms with 28 students at the junior high last year, and the enrollment in 8th grade has gone up 14 students to this year, then by averages, that means there's now 30 kids in those classrooms. And so that's why it's important to look at, well, if there's 2 more, so 14 divided by 7, I mean, it's actually more than, but regardless, I think it's important to look at what is the high. Do any classrooms have 28, 29 students? How many classrooms have that many? And what can we do? Like, can we hire one floating teacher?
Can
or-
I answer your question a little bit, because just from some historical perspective? So the district has allocated 7 sections to 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. The district at this time has delegated the authority to make decisions of what to do with those 7 sections at each grade level to the building administration and building leadership team. They have 8 and 6 model. We could remove that authority from the junior high and say you will have 7 sections at each grade level. That would put the class sizes at what you're seeing here. The consequence of that, and why the building leadership team has decided against that, is we will now, for example, have an 8th grade ELA teacher that will now teach 1 section of social studies in order to make that 7 section happen across the board. We will have a math teacher have to teach a section of science to decrease class sizes by potentially 3 or 4 students in our science and social studies classrooms. So they have had that discussion year after year and have made that decision because we have given them that authority to, that in the best interest of the school, the 6 and 8 model is a better fit. We can easily say, we need you to replicate the 7 sections that are happening kindergarten through 5th grade. But there is the other side of what that does in taking teachers out of their specialty area. If we were to add an 8th section, I personally would struggle with making that recommendation, because that would lower class sizes at the junior high to the low 20s. And we have 1st and 2nd grade classrooms at 25. So I would really struggle personally, and I'm just giving you my opinion, to say, let's decrease 6th, 7th, and 8th grade classrooms to low 20s, and then have our 1st and 2nd grade teachers with classes at 25. So that would be the other side of it, is if you're adding teachers to the junior high, you're significantly decreasing their class sizes, but then we're not doing the same for K-5. I don't know if that helps at all with like some historical context, that they are allocated those 7 sections just as every grade level. And you could talk a little bit more about what that conversation has looked like over the years. But I want to make sure that's very clear that they do have the 7 sections. They've chosen through collaboration to move forward each year with those 6 and 8s. I don't know if that helps at all, but just from a historical perspective of where that has come from.
It does help. It does help. I'm a numbers person, so looking at like a 7 average when there's not exactly 7 of science and social studies. And so I think that, going back to this color coded thing where there's concern and there's high, when we look at the high at the junior high and it's 29 plus, we're in the red zone here potentially on some of those. Is that right? Are we in the red zone on some science and social studies at the junior high where there's 29 students or more?
There are the science and social studies classes just naturally have to be higher if we have only 6 sections when you divide by 6 versus dividing by 8. What Dr. Johnson was saying is our leadership team looks at this every year, and we made the decision when as our enrollment has gone down a little bit, around that 180 mark is where 7 sections makes the most sense. But it actually came from the teachers when this first came up, is to decide to have the 8 sections in ELA and math for the very reasons that we talked about. It's to keep people in their primary subject area where they can teach the best, and it only splits up one person. So one person teaches part-time social studies, part-time history, and we have 3 fantastic teachers who are qualified and do a great job of teaching those classes. So we've gone to that history science department, explained to them the situation. Some of them, I'll be honest with you, there's some that don't like it. They would prefer to have 8 sections, but they understand why we're doing it this way. And I think that it's shown our success year after year after year how it works. And so, as Dr. Johnson said, it might mean that in their class they might have 3 or 4 more kids than the other, than in their other classes, but it's worth it to them. And as you saw from our demonstration here today, they're able to handle having 28, 29 kids in a class, and depending on what goes in, sometimes we're pushing in self kids that might push it a little bit higher. Sometimes we're pushing in other students into those classes that pushes up a little higher. But the teachers are fantastic, and if Dr. Albin was still here, she'd probably tell you it's just fine. It's just fine. So I wouldn't make that, as long as it's my decision to make, then I'm going to at the enrollment that we currently have, I would stick with 6s and 8s, because I don't want to take somebody like Don Shaughnessy and say, you're not teaching a math section because I want to divide by 7. Or Craig Martinez, who, he's our most recent award-winning teacher, and say, I'm sorry, Craig, you don't get to teach one of your sections of ELA because I want to divide by 7. It just doesn't make sense to us. So, and when we present it that way, sometimes to our science and history teachers, they're like, yeah, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So why would we do that?
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Rolanitis. I'm sorry if I should know this. I don't know it, so I'm just going to ask it. It's a recommendation that there's going to be an additional special ed teacher at the junior high next year, right? So will that impact at all these classroom sizes? And no, that has nothing to do with that. That will not have an effect. Okay.
I can speak to that. You can too, but I'm unmuted. So we have students, what we want to do is have a full continuum of services. We have based on IEPs. So right now we have some students who we believe could benefit greatly from another level of special ed. So right now it actually might reduce these numbers a little bit because those students may be taught in a different setting with a more self-contained teacher. Are you okay? All right.
Okay. No other questions? Then we'll move on to Dr. Johnson.
My report started out, as it always does, doing a quick summary of professional learning that's taken place in the district this past month. In addition, I did put some information about our student spotlight tonight. They did an absolutely wonderful job. So I do want to say thank you to Mrs. Serino and Miss Albon for coming in, and our 6 students who joined us to share their ponds and the scientific process that they've been going through with that unit. I did provide an update for you regarding our movement within our advanced learner programming. I was excited to share with you that we have 14 teachers who have, it's now 15, will be enrolling in summer courses to start their gifted endorsement through the University of St. Francis, and we have several more that will start in the fall. So thank you again for your work on passing that MOU with the MTA, because that's really been exciting as I've met with each teacher to go over that MOU and their commitment to the district through that. We also have 24 teachers who will be taking the continuing education class through Learner's Edge starting this summer as well. So we have a significant amount of teachers who have asked to be part of the professional development. So we really look forward to the impact that this learning will have on our students here in the district and our programming models for next school year. As a reminder, on April 29th, we will be offering 2 parent informational sessions, one at 10 o'clock, one at 6 o'clock, in which we will be sharing updates regarding what the board had approved with our programming for next school year. So we look forward to any parents that would like to come out to learn a little bit more so that they feel equipped with the knowledge to know what will be happening. As I mentioned last month as well, we will be updating our website at the same time with some parent informational guides that will share similar information for those who can't make it or for parents who want to reference that information in the future. I did provide for you an update regarding where our junior high tier 1 social emotional learning committee was. We will be bringing a recommendation to you in May as an informational item for the program we would like to move forward with for the junior high next school year. I did get a question from one of the board members that was answered that since we did push it to May, that will not impact our implementation as the committee members wanted training early in the fall. So with some of our other programming, the committee members have asked for training in the spring before summer, so they were ready to go day 1. Our committee members felt that this wasn't something we would be doing the first day of school, so they had said there's a lot going on in May. Could this be something we focus on that first early release day? So that approval in June will not impact our ability to implement or our teachers to be prepared for the start of the year. Very exciting news. I did give you a memo this month with our committee's recommendations for our kindergarten through 5th grade social studies program that we are hoping to bring to you for your approval next month. So I did prepare that memo for you that outlines the process that I've kept you abreast on throughout the year, but just all in one place, the process that we've gone through as a committee. Big Mrs. Barr, she's still out there. Yay, committee member Mrs. Barr has been part of that. But so you could, see steps that we've gone through in this very collaborative process. We've tried the materials with our students. And I do have those materials out in district office. We'll have those there till the next board meeting. If there is any staff member, community member, board member who would like to take a look at those. So I will bring this back to you then in May as an action item. Last but not least on my report, I did provide for you just a little bit of an update of the district's representation in, I don't know if you've heard anything in the education community about some of the redesign that's happening with the state assessment systems. Just so you were aware that Mokena has been represented in providing feedback to the state regarding our experiences and what we would need or what we would envision for the future with IAR, ISA, and the assessment and accountability systems, as well as information that I was selected to participate in the IAR review committee for ELA. So I look forward to providing some feedback to that in May. So good news, we are able to share our voice and have a slight impact in what that will look like for the future for our students and our teachers. Oh, well, thanks. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
Did somebody else have a question? Oh. I think that's really good, Dr. Johnson, that you're able to represent the district in those discussions. Super critical. I'm sorry if I forgot this, or are they changing their assessment? Like, have they made a decision, or is this part of the decision process?
From what I know at this point in time, the larger assessment, like philosophy, isn't changing, but they are looking at different question types, different questions. That's what I'll be a part of, like reviewing those pieces of it. They're also going to be changing like the scoring mechanism. We used to have 5 categories of students, you know, that they exceeded, met, partially proficient, all of that. That's going to go down to 4. And so they're having to recalibrate everything in terms of like the proficiency cutoffs for those 4 areas now instead of 5 areas. So those are some of the bigger picture pieces that they've communicated are happening. There are some accountability pieces as well that have changed. I haven't heard specifics of what that will look like. I'm hoping through some of this committee work that I'll be able to receive a little bit more information. But in terms of a complete shift in assessment that I've spoken of before, I am not hearing that today. So,
And this would lead us to believe that that IAR is still going to be the tool.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that I think is, I mean, that's better than not.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not hearing this complete, like, throw everything in the garbage can and start over.
Right. And I know you were concerned about that.
I was. Yeah.
Okay. So that's good. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, Mrs. Munt.
All right. So I think this was my longest board report yet, but the second page is full of smiling faces. So diving into the first topic, we met again as a special education steering committee last Friday. We again focused on 4 main topic areas of legal policies and procedures, developing a mission and vision statement for our department, and then defining stakeholders' roles and responsibilities. And that final looking at that establishing systemic structures. We put pen to paper and focused in on a multi-year plan detailing the stages, really focusing on a 3-year plan at this time, and what that looks beyond on that we will continue to develop. We have the first year looking at installation, then implementation, and then full implementation. So more to come on this. I want to thank the committee as they have worked very, very diligently on this. The next one, I kind of changed up the order a little bit, but student services shout out goes this month to the paraprofessionals. April 2nd, April, I almost said October. You have me second guessing which month it is. Was National Paraprofessional Day. And just want to thank our paraprofessionals for their unwavering dedication, compassion, and hard work. As they are the backbone of our school district. They are always willing to lend a helping hand, and their impact is immeasurable. So just a big thank you to all of our paraprofessionals. The next item I have here is a really neat one. This is the MIS special education teachers, Mrs. Bellatier, Mrs. Cosina, and Mrs. Berry's classes visited Moose and Me Baking Company in Naperville. This is a field trip that allowed them to not only decorate cookies, but also tour the bakery and learn how it operates. But the really neat part about this bakery is it fosters an inclusive community by employing adults with physical, developmental, and intellectual disabilities. It offers both employment opportunities and meaningful community interactions. So just a really neat opportunity for our students who have special needs to be able to enjoy a sweet treat, but also learn the inner workings of a bakery. So just a really neat experience overall. I'm sure Mr. McAtee can speak to it as well. You can see some smiling faces, some goofy faces in those pictures. They had an absolute blast on this field trip. The next item here is just some more information about the proposal for the additional special education teacher at MJHS. I went into just a quick summary. I know you received that proposal earlier. We are hoping to, I use the word reinstate a specialized instruction classroom at MJH because it was there during the 2023 school year, and the student need was not there at that time. So I have a feeling the question is, why add the teacher? And it really comes down to the the 3 separate junior high schedules and the number of students. That balance between those 3 schedules is really difficult to do. And our numbers would lend to the addition of a special education teacher. So I'm more than happy to dive further into that with questions. But I know you received a detailed report about that. The last item in front of you is a little bit of a Special Olympic swag, if you will. You have a sticker, a pen, and the last page that has a QR code containing the Mokena and Special Olympics t-shirt. So really excited about our partnership with Special Olympics this year. So in the past years, we've done a little bit of a couple of things with Special Olympics, but we really dove headfirst this year into partnering with them. So just to highlight a couple of things, on May 9th, we will be doing the culminating event, which we've done in past years with Mokena Elementary School. We will be, Special Olympics actually will be on site. I don't know if Special Olympics has ever been on site for us before here. No, so that'll be really exciting. We are going to do a torch run, an opening ceremony. We are working with the local police department, aka Mokena Police Department, to bring them in. We are going to have an activity station and then a closing ceremony. So really a lot of exciting things that are happening. A big thank you goes out to the National Junior Honor Society volunteers. So the junior high kiddos are going to come help us out with that. I will be reaching out to the board members. I may need some help opening and closing the ceremony, so more to come with that. Hopefully you guys can step away from your busy lives and maybe read a little speech for me. So to also encourage continued participation in Special Olympics from May 5th through the 9th, we are going to have Mokena Elementary School do that Respect Week. So MIS and MJH did that previously. It is now MES's turn. But we are also going to welcome Lincoln Way Special Education Recreation Association. My goodness, in special education, we have long acronyms and long names. And they're going to do a PE takeover, which they did last year. Special thank you to the MES Student Council for organizing this event. So Mokena Intermediate School and Mokena Junior High will also be hosting disability awareness assemblies. And there will be presenters there at those 2 schools. So the t-shirt, which is in front of you, that we've partnered with Mokena Athletic Booster Club, who has generously offered to not only sell this, but design it for us. And we are going to be able to sell that to the community, to staff, to anybody who wants it. And a portion of those proceeds will help support future Special Olympic events. So you can place your orders by scanning that QR code at any time. I want to give a special thank you to Stacy Lavelle, who is our special education program coordinator. She has really led the leadership across the district to coordinate these events, to partner with Special Olympics, and partner with all the different schools just to make for sure we're able to roll this out. So special thank you to her. So that last page is just that what is sitting in front of you, but wanted to make for sure you have that takeaway, because I don't know about you, but that binder is thick and I wanted to make for sure you had it in front of you. Any questions you have for me?
Does anybody else have any
I have
questions?
a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at the calendar. May
Yes.
9th
Yes,
is a Friday.
it is.
Not October 9th.
Not October 9th.
Got it. All right, good.
Yes.
All right. So more information to follow. So you don't have times yet.
I don't have exact times
To-
because
to
we're
be
trying to
determined.
nail it down with Special Olympics.
Got
But
it.
I will make for sure if Steve's okay with it, that he puts it in his board brief in the next couple of weeks. Yeah. And it would just be, I promise to give you a speech. If you want to deviate slightly from that, that is up to the will of the board.
I might show up on October 9th instead of May 9th. So
Fair
I'm not
enough.
sure. Don't
Fair
count on me.
enough. I will remember that.
But thank you for the shirt. I'll get another possible.
I love it.
Upgrade my wardrobe. Mrs.
I love
Blank
it.
and
And
now
if
you are helping
if
me
you
out.
forget
So
about it,
thank
you can just put your sticker right over that, and I'm sure we'll accept that too.
There we go. All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. So for the event, I mean, anything that I can help with, you just let me know.
Absolutely.
And I'm all for it.
Yeah.
And thank you for doing all this, and to Stacy and everybody. It's great. I'm just curious. I noticed in your finance presentation, I didn't think I could ask questions, but
ready.
now I should have done this then, I guess. The enrollment for special services at MES is more than it is at MJHS, but we're making a recommendation for an additional teacher at MJHS and not MES. So is it just pretty much that is because of the schedule difference that's you'd mentioned that's the pain point, right?
Yeah.
Do you anticipate needing another teacher at MES like next year, or are we going, or like, is that coming?
I don't want to say yes or no to potentially at MES in the future. At this point, no. But the schedule is not the only reason at MJH. So one of the things I touched on in my presentation was the fact that MES, we compared to MJH, we do have students that have some academic needs that we're able to address with early intervention and put them into special education classes and then dismiss them. And so our numbers look inflated. So if you look on slide number, I'm going to give you a direct number. On number 8, you'll notice that our special education minutes are naturally higher at the elementary school than at MJH. But that being said, that is because of the number of grade levels and because of the number of interventions that are interventions that we can address. So the older they get, we're able to dismiss more students. But that being said, we're able to work with the MES schedule a little bit differently than at the junior high. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions you have about the presentation or?
Well, I mean,
We can follow up if we need to. Absolutely.
I think there's a lot that I need to kind of probably sit with. I appreciate your willingness.
Of course.
To do that, and yeah, thank you.
No problem.
Any questions for Ms. Smith? Okay, moving on. Dr. Shaw.
Good evening. At the table, you've got the first draft of the amended budget. So there's going to be more changes in this amended budget than typically you would see in the amended budget. If you remember this past fall, we went from the tentative budget to the proposed budget, and the tentative budget was approved and not the proposed budget. So a lot of those changes that would have happened in that last month are incorporated into the amended budget. So there's more changes in this one than typical. It is the first draft, so you will be getting a different iteration of this amended budget next month for the tentative amended budget for approval. And I just want to reiterate the fact that from the tentative amended budget to the final proposed amended budget, that changes could happen from that one, the tentative approved, to the final proposed. And I'll make sure that I list any of those changes from the posted tentative to the final proposed. This is going to change. This is the first draft. And there's, like I said, there were quite a few changes from the budget last fall to this one. So you'll see more than typical. You'll also see this change next month, the one that we will actually post, as we continue to fine tune this budget, amended budget. So that's the first draft. And then we've got the other information item that we've got in my pack tonight is the Park District Intergovernmental Agreement. The first copy was from 2001. You all received a copy of the 2001 with some notes on it of where we made some changes. The current updated 2025 version has been vetted by the board attorney with any changes and updated language, also updated formatting from what it looked like in 2001 to 2025. So that's in there for approval next month. The board approve it, and then we'll send it off to the Park District for their approval. Our action items tonight, we've got student fees. There's no change from the information item from the last 2 months. 2 months ago, you saw student fees with lunches. 2 months ago, last month, student fees. No changes to those for tonight. We'll note that the only change in student fees from last year, this year are lunch prices, and we've talked about that. We've got the action item for the Will County Intergovernmental Agreement for transportation testing, so we can be part of the consortium to make sure that we can do our testing for our bus drivers. We've got the memorandum of understanding for shared access to Willowcrest. There was one that was approved in 2018 that one of the last lines on there is a 5-year review. We're a little behind in that 5-year review, but it's added on there. And then we have another neighbor who also, we looked at an MOU a few years ago. Can't find it. We did a new one, so it's included. We need to make sure that we submit those MOUs to the village so they have that for their records also. And then we've got the last month I gave you a information item that we were going to negotiate with Malcor Roofing, who is the board approved vendor for the MIS roof restoration. We estimated that cost at $600,000. It came in at $416,000, so we had $184,000 to negotiate with them to take a look at doing some restoration at the MES campus. So we worked with them to get another 11,000 square feet done at this building over the summer for that total project at $600,000. So that's at the table for approval, the amended proposal through Omnia Cooperative with Melcor. We've got those items on the table for action tonight. Just a little update from HR. We had our wellness clinic on March 18th. We had 44 staff members participate in the wellness clinic. Every year that number is increasing. In our food service department, our transition to our coordinator is going pretty smooth. She actually had some training with Mr. Henson on Skyward Q. So she's got to learn a little bit of Skyward SMS that we're using now, and a whole nother system for next year when she comes back after her training with Ann, that she'll learn Skyward Q. And her featured item for tonight is cheese quesadilla. The nutritional information is included in your board pack. From transportation, the report that you got from Mr. Walker, who's in the audience tonight, is about field trips and the current ridership on all of those buses. So that's included for you to take a look at. And then in O&M, our summer projects, we continuously meet with our architects and engineering team on a weekly basis. We updated on Tuesday, and our summer projects are on time. We've got our MIS and MES roofing that's pending board approval tonight for those projects. They anticipate 6 weeks. I think Monday night, Mr. Garmy said 6 weeks to do the project. We have our fire panels. A lot of that work was already done on the fire panels. They did some of that work over spring break. We have the MES, MIS, and MJ flooring. So we are on schedule for the flooring. And then our unit vents, we checked in to make sure that those unit vents here at MES have been ordered. And some of that work was also done with copper piping in the ceiling. This time, all of our projects are on time. We also talked a little bit about the hard surface play area and the retention pond here with our contractor that we've continuously not closed off that project. That project is still not, punch list is still not complete. Got a lot of things coming up. We do a lot of work over the summer. So the last thing on my note was already kind of addressed with the ad hoc committee on the custodial recommendation anticipation next month. Any questions?
Questions, Dr. Shaw?
I'm going to be quick, Terry.
Yes.
I just want to thank you and recognize that, that this amended budget process has been a struggle for me the past 2 years. And I can see that you are doing what I've requested and where I have struggled, and you are providing it today. And it is really big, and I appreciate it. And thank you, because I know that it's probably pushed everything up for you to be able to get here. So I will do my part and try to get you feedback or questions that I have as soon as possible. So we're not leaving that to the end. And I'm really grateful for that. I think it's a really big step for the board's work in this amended budget process. And we should all, it's great. And I also want to acknowledge and thank you for providing, these agreements. This has also been a point that of struggle for me is as, contracts kind of background. That's where I look to go. That's where I want to read, and it's the source document. It alleviates a lot of questions back and forth. If I read it, there's the answer. I don't need to ask questions. So thank you for providing the contracts that are relevant to your report and allowing us that that we're able to review it.
You're welcome.
Yes. And I thought there was one other thing, but thank you.
Questions, Dr. Shaw? Okay, moving on. Mr. Henson.
Good evening. I do have a action item and an information item for you this evening. The action item, we are asking the board to approve the purchase of 18 new security cameras from Avigilon to be installed by Tri-E. We think the cameras will be a great addition to keep students and staff safe in areas that we've identified that we do need coverage for. The information item, I know when I submitted, I didn't receive quotes. The reasoning for that is we wanted specifically Lenovo 500E Gen 4s. That is the model I requested to vendors when I started requesting quotes for these Chromebooks. Unfortunately, due to the tariff situation, Lenovo had a pricing freeze, so a vendor could not request pricing for it. No one was able to give me quotes for the last 6 weeks or so. The quotes that I did receive were for different models and not specifically what I requested for. Fortunately, Lenovo did, at the end of the week last week, allow vendors to start requesting pricing again, and I was able to receive some quotes. And I do have a quote in front of you that I'm highly confident is the quote we're going to go with. YNS did win last year. Out of the 3 quotes that I received, they do have the best pricing. It is everything that I asked for, which was a 500E Generation 4. This one includes a pen, a case, a 3-year ADP through Lenovo, and licensing for Google. And they actually came in a lot better than I thought it was going to be, and we're about a little over $30,000 under budget on this with this one. I am waiting for one more vendor to who said they couldn't get it to me today, but tomorrow. But if that any of this changes, I should have updated information for you guys by the special meeting April 28th, 48 hours in advance if anything changes. So that's great that we do have pricing. I'm happy about that. I know there's some urgency behind it, and that's because we want to get our order in to make sure we have Chromebooks for our students next year. I do have Windows 10 end of support. I want to talk about that a little bit. If anyone doesn't know, Microsoft announced that they're ending support for Windows 10, Windows 8, and Windows 7. So what does that mean? It means that as of October 14th, you will no longer be able to do software updates or Windows updates, as they call them. Putting your computer at huge risk, kind of forcing people to upgrade to Windows 11. Unfortunately, I don't know why they're doing 3 operating systems. Usually they don't do that. It is what it is. It's not saying that they won't provide the support. It's just saying that they won't provide it for free anymore. So if there's something significant that you have to update on it, they may charge you if you're still running an older operating system. Why is that important? We do have some computers here running Windows 10, so we do plan on either replacing them or upgrading to Windows 11 during the summertime. One more thing, Julie, thank you for the shout out earlier. I do have my presentation posted on our website under the department's technology financial review. So it is on there, and if you want to check that out, I highly recommend it. Especially the K-12-6 map. You can click on the map. It'll take you to their website, or I do have it in the references at the very end. Highly recommend checking that out and seeing what other school districts in the area and their cyber incidents that occur to them. So, any questions?
Mr. Henson?
I have a comment.
Sure.
I've noticed, and I don't know who is accountable for this, but I go on the website quite often, and I've noticed a lot more information being posted. And so I just want to acknowledge that is, our website has made such huge strides. Our social media, we mentioned last month, has made huge strides. It's just very positive improvements in the communication and transparency that we have with our community. So whoever is doing that, I appreciate it. It's recognized and it's great. And one thing I also want to really highlight is one of the things I noticed that was there, and I don't know when this happened, but is the curriculum maps. And that sometime within this year we were waiting for those, and it is a really huge deal that they're there. And so thank you for your progress on that, Dr. Johnson. And it's really a big resource for parents to be able to reference on our website for whatever grade their children are in, and even board members and everybody. So thank you.
Thanks for doing it.
Even the buildings take care of their own section of the website. So,
There's a lot of people who
Any other questions? I just have one quick comment that I didn't say in the finance committee meeting. A lot of the vendors that you're using in your presentation, happy to see that the place I work at, we have very highly paid IT professionals, and we use almost all the same vendors. So it was cool to see those same vendors.
yeah, it's one of those situations too that I'm sure Lenovo manufactures in China, or they did as until recently. I'm not really sure what's happening with that, but I'm sure a lot of the same vendors, no matter who you go with, probably have their devices manufactured in China as well. So,
No, I was talking not about Lenovo. I was talking about the security features.
Oh,
and stuff
yes.
like that.
Yeah,
Like
yes.
the Nobi.
Know-Before?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And all those.
They're
things like
awesome.
that. So a lot of those vendors are, what we use it. We have a lot of highly paid people making those decisions. So it's good to see those same vendors. Okay, moving on. Principal reports. We'll start with Dr. Rolanitis.
So, again, congratulations to my science teachers, that sixth grade science, that our science curriculum is fantastic, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. The ponds project started in 7th grade, worked its way down into 6th grade. One thing they failed to mention, even the students, is if you've ever spent any time around a pond, it actually smells really bad. So thank goodness that we got some, when the algae is growing and all that stuff, it's fermenting in there. There can be some pretty incredible smells. So they brought some that by the time they get to this point, they actually smell okay. But when it's all growing, oh boy, it's special down there. I think we've purchased a couple of air purifiers to try and make it a little bit better down there. But they do a fantastic job. The kids really get into it. They really like doing that. It's hard to see. I mean, it's a muddy pit is what it really looks like, but they learn a lot from that kind of project. I do want to thank, I think Dr. Johnson already got this out there, the social media post about our Student Government Day. I put it in my board report. It's a fun activity, and Mrs. Klapoff went with the students, and they do get to learn a lot. This year, they got to tour the new police department building, got to see everything. I did have some girls this morning tell me they were disappointed they didn't get to actually go in the jail cell. They got to see it. I'm telling them, please don't aspire to that. But they're really good kids, and they do learn a lot. The village does a really nice job, so we want to thank them for providing that as well. A couple of big things that are coming up for us very soon are our two big field trips. Springfield for 7th grade is coming up on April 30th, and then the Washington, D.C. trip on May 2nd through 4th. A lot of preparation goes into those things, and our kids really look forward to those. So this year there are, I think, about 150 of the 170 students in 7th grade who are going to Springfield, and we have over 100, it's about 103, 102 8th graders out of the 160 whatever we have who are going to go to Washington, D.C. That's our new record, the number of students. And we're using a different tour group this year, so we'll see how that goes. We're trying to keep the costs down every year. This group agreed to a cost. This is the same cost we paid for the last 3 years. So even with all the prices going up, they're trying to help us by keeping that cost down for our parents. I want to point out some of our very, very important people are honored. I believe next Wednesday, the 24th, is Administrative Professionals Day. So I want to shout out to all of our secretaries, all of our administrative assistants, all those people who really keep the district afloat. They, we have Kelly here tonight. She's one of our administrative assistants. So shout out to you, Kelly. Nice job. So they do. It's kind of the unsung heroes in the district. So I really want to say something nice about them. Congratulations to the new PTA board members. We have 3 new board members and 1 returning board member. I didn't bring up their names. I just know they voted on it last night. So congratulations to them. And don't forget to sign up for the Color Run. That is going to be coming up at the end of May, the 29th. It's a fun event. I hope everybody participates. And my last thing is, I think I put it in my board report, but if not, graduation is coming up. It's May 28th, 6 p.m. at Lincoln Way West. You are all invited to attend. I'll be sending out more information to you later on as we get more, but you are invited to attend and participate. Keep in mind if there is somebody who you would like to congratulate, please let me know and we'll try and work that out so you can definitely shake hands. One of the nice things about, I get asked, why are we going to Lincoln Way West? Because we use Lincoln Way facilities, they tell us where they're going to go. So last year we were at Central in the field house. This year it is at Lincoln Way West in the gym. The gym is air conditioned, so we don't have to worry about weather. We don't have to worry about being too hot. I think it'll be a nice place for us to do that. So that's about all I have for tonight. If you guys have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Questions for Dr. Leonidas? Okay, Mr. McAtee.
Thank you. I was able to check off a couple things. So the admin assistants, they do a phenomenal job. So check that one off. Thank you, Dr. Leonidas. PTA board, thank you, Dr. Leonidas. And the Color Run, which is going to be a blast. We have our Rocket Runners running club is going to be participating in it this year. We actually have a spring running club this year, and we've got close to 60 kids participating. So it's going to be a fabulous event. So if you haven't signed up, please sign up to volunteer. It's going to be a great time. Just a couple quick things in my board report. If you get a chance to see it, our teachers do a phenomenal job of teaching our students to write, to help them through the writing process. They also find some creative ways for our students to share what they've learned. So our 5th graders talking about social change and how, our professional athletes can help promote social change. So our 5th grade students came up with a hall of character. And our main hallway looks like it's kind of like the Hall of Fame where they got gold pictures. They have pictures, they all drew pictures of their athletes, have a little description. And it's all about, the the wonderful characteristics of these people, how they go about helping not only their professional sport, but how they go about helping with social change and making our world a better place. So if you get a chance to walk down our hallway, it really is pretty cool. We got all these gold, pictures all the way down the hall. It's really a pretty cool thing. Our fourth grade teachers are doing the same thing. They're learning about the Revolutionary War, what led up to it, how it affected all the people living at that time. And they came up with a way, instead of just writing up an opinion piece on, how it affected them, their teachers came up with a newspaper article format. So they had to come up with headlines. They had to come up with the ideas for the articles. There's a couple pictures in my board report as well. Those are up in the hallways as well. So it really is a pretty cool thing to see. Some of their headlines are pretty creative. So if you have a chance, come on down and take a look at it. And props to our teachers for coming up with all these wonderful, wonderful ideas. Big one. Well, actually, okay, two big ones. IAR, done. It was the testing, the students part of it didn't really change much. The teachers part of it, the staff part of it, changed a lot. So we were learning as we were going through it. There's the whole teacher platform was different. The administration platform looked different. So it was a challenge. We were learning as we went through it. So day 2 looked a lot better than day 1 and so forth. So we finished IAR just in time to start the science assessment this week. So our 5th graders are doing the science assessments. We should be finished with all the makeups by midweek, which would be nice to get everything done and out of the way. So thank you to all of our teachers for doing all of that hard work. Megan, thank you so much. It takes a lot of time. It pulls away from some of our instructional time. But thank you to our teachers for making it all work. And the last big thing is our masterpieces and melodies. Next Thursday night, 6 to 8 o'clock, got to be there. It's going to be a wonderful event. Last year we did it. We had just the art piece where Mrs. Doublehoff, every single student, all 352 of our students have a piece of art hung in the gym. So somewhere in the gym, they all have a piece of art hung. This year, we're incorporating music as well. So we're going to have some small orchestra pieces. We're going to have some small band pieces. We'll also have some of our students play the recorders at different times throughout. So from 6 to 8, you can take a look at the artwork. You can listen to some beautiful music. It's going to be a wonderful event. So please, if you can make it next Thursday, 6 to 8. There's also going to be some hands-on activities that the kids will be able to do that you guys can do as well. But it's just going to be a wonderful event. So I want to thank Mrs. Doublehoff and Ms. Snyder for putting the evening together. It's going to be wonderful. And that's all I've got. Any
questions for Mr. Mayor? Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Mrs. Chorley. The coveted spot, go last. You just have to say everything they just said. Questions, Mr. Torley? Okay, thank you. Next up is Lincoln Way Area Special Education, Mrs. Briscoe.
On the finance side, expenses are in line with what Mr. Englert sent out last month, with the exception of the bus monitors, whose projection continues to grow. Mr. Englert may need to adjust tuition for this line item again next month. The other thing Mr. Englert wants to point out again is regarding fuel costs. There was a $300,000 budgeted for 12 months of fuel. However, May and June of 2024, the fuel costs were paid in FY25. So if 12 months of fuel costs in FY20, wait a minute, sorry. So if Lincoln Way starts to stay current with their fuel bills, as they are now, we could end up with more than the 12 months of fuel costs in FY25. This would make transportation expenses higher than what was projected. Mr. Engel continue to watch this. With the SELF program, I just wanted to, Mr. Romeo said that tomorrow is breakfast with the Easter Bunny from 7:45 to 8:30. And that is it for my report.
Questions for Mrs. Briscoe? Okay, and none, we'll move on. There were 6 FOIA requests that were completed. Next is action requests. Ready, Kelly? Okay, Kelly's ready. Approval of the previous minutes.
Move to approve minutes for the March 19th, 2025 regular meeting and closed session meeting as presented.
Second by Julie, any discussion?
Discussion. So I'm just not going to approve these minutes, and this is the reason. We have a board policy that our minutes should reflect any discussion that has happened, and currently our discussions around the action items are not reflected in the minutes. So I will say this is, I think I brought it up last meeting, but I didn't follow up on anything. So hopefully we can, before the next meeting, kind of cure that, and I can help reference the relevant policy that says that. But, when we are voting and a member of the board has a discussion on the action item, that is something that should be reflected in the minutes. And so that's why I'm voting no.
Any other discussion? Please call the vote.
Mrs. Briscoe? Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Mrs. McMillan?
No.
Mrs. Ost? Mrs. Tunney? Mrs. Zelinski? Mr. Andreessen?
Call me this. Jamie would be honored if she was sitting at this table. I miss her. I'd like to be sitting next to her right now. I will say yes. And you're awesome, and I'm playing around after tonight. You're golden.
Okay, motion passed. Next up is district bills. Mrs. McMillan had them this month.
Yes. I move to approve the monthly bills as presented.
Second by Julie. Any discussion?
Yes. I just want to let everybody know I reviewed the bills in depth, and I discussed it with Terry, looked at certain invoices, and all looked good to me. So I did spend some time in it and looked at stuff. So thank you. And thank you, Terry, for your time.
Okay, please call the vote.
Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Mrs. McMillan?
Yes.
Mrs. Ost? Mrs. Tunney? Mrs. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Andreessen?
I love you too. Yes.
Mrs. Briscoe?
Okay, motion passed. Next up is the approval of the personnel report. All right, second. I think I already heard it, Jim. Of course, you could jump the
I
gun.
heard it as presented.
Okay, any discussion?
Sorry, Anna.
Yes. Mr. Bush, can you clarify, is this where we're approving the contracts as well? Is this one action item, or are there two here? There's a action item C, and there's an action item C1. Are those two separate actions, or are they one action?
Two.
Okay, I see. Never mind.
Okay, please call the vote.
Mrs. McMillan?
Yes.
Mrs. Ost? Mrs. Tunney? Mrs. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Andreessen? Mrs. Briscoe? Mr. Bush?
Yes. Okay, motion passed. Next up is the approval of the administrator, director, and coordinator contracts. Bring by Ms. Briscoe. Any discussion?
My only point is that the memo, I believe, has Mrs. Purick still on the memo, and Mrs. Purick is not in the contracts. So there's a small change, I believe, that I just want to make note that the action item memo has Mrs. Purick on it in the salaries, and her contract is not being up for action right now. So if we could just maybe make a note, or I don't know how to handle that really is.
What do you got?
She's a resignation.
Yeah.
She's not
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah.
She's on the action memo from Steve Stein.
I don't see it. Oh, no, I don't see it.
What page is that, Kelly?
It's, you know what, Steve, you know the memo?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
260.
yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
that just got duplicated.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
I just want to make note of the change.
I mean, what you're approving is on page 249. I mean, this is just kind of.
So is the action memo that is in the board book, is that part of the action item?
No.
I think you just need to make a motion to say, I would just amend the motion to say it is the acceptance of the resignation of Alexandria Pyrrhic. Yeah,
We did that already.
Yes, I see the cross reference of this. Yeah.
So we just
all
need
are-
to say
we all
we are
know-
not approving Mrs. Pyrrhick's contract
We all know
as,
we're approving her resignation.
okay.
What you're approving is what you see on page 249.
Any other discussion? Okay.
I have one. Just really quick. I had a question last month on the administrator contracts, and unfortunately it wasn't answered. So I'm going to continue to abstain from the vote simply because I do not want to call out a person. I don't think it's appropriate. But I don't accept Alexandria's resignation, just so you know. No, I'm happy
Okay.
for her, but I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you. Please call the vote.
Mrs. McMillan?
Yes.
Mrs. Ost?
I'm going to abstain.
Mrs. Tunney?
Yes.
Mrs. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Andreessen?
Yes.
Mrs. Briscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Bush?
Yes. Okay, motion passed. Next up is consent agenda.
I move to amend the student fees for the 2025-2026 school year to remove the instrument usage fee.
Any discussion? I would agree with that, and I would say that I would add to that I do believe that from presentation last month, it was about $3,200 in fees roughly that I would add to the motion, or that we should reach out to the music boosters and request that they possibly fund that music instrument fee. So we're not not hitting the parents up with the fees. We're using our music boosters to try to pay them.
Okay. I motion and I will move to amend the student fees for the 2025-26 school year to remove the instrument usage fee and to direct the district to reach out to the music boosters to seek reimbursement for that fee.
I didn't mean to do a whole motion. I was just adding
That's
on,
fine.
but we can
You
do
know.
it that way too. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, please call the vote.
Mr. Bush,
Yes.
Mrs. McMillan, Mrs. Ost,
Yes.
Mrs. Tunney, Mrs. Zelinski, Mr. Andreessen, Mrs. Briscoe.
Okay, motion passed. Next up is security camera additions.
So we have to now move the whole motion. So I move to approve the student fees for the 2025-26 school year as amended.
Any discussion? All right, vote again.
Mrs. Ost,
Yes.
Mrs. Tunney, Mrs. Zelinski, Mr. Andreessen, Mrs. Briscoe, Mr. Bush,
Yes.
Mrs. McMillan.
So I understand my directive. So any purchase we make of instruments or repair we make of instruments, you are directing us to go to the music boosters for the funds to do that.
No. I think it would just recoup the fees that we're not charging parents, right?
Oh, okay.
I think, my understanding.
I just want to make
is
sure
that-
I fully understand what I'm being asked to
We're
do.
going to ask them for the number of students that are going to be using those particular instruments. Instead of charging the fee to those
Okay.
families, we're going to ask the music boosters to pay that portion.
Gotcha.
to us
Okay.
Next year.
Okay, thank you. Just want to make sure I was clear.
That would cover repairs and things like that.
Just the, yeah.
The large
Let's say 40
instrument.
students times 7.
Correct.
Okay, 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 thank you.
Security camera additions.
I move to approve the purchase of 18 new, I'm going to call it a Vigilon because I don't know how to say that. Security cameras to be installed by Tri Electronics at a total cost of $21,432 as presented.
Discussion. Call the vote.
Mrs. Tunney,
Yes.
Mrs. Zelinski, Mr. Andreessen, Mrs. Briscoe, Mr. Bush,
Yes.
Mrs. McMillan, Mrs. Ost.
Yes.
Okay, motion passed. Next up is the Will County Intergovernmental Agreement, Transportation Employee Testing Services.
I move to approve Will County Transportation Consortium Intergovernmental Agreement for Contracting Transportation Testing Services as presented.
Second.
Moving, any discussion? Please call the vote.
Mrs. Zelinski,
Yes.
Mr. Andreessen,
Yes.
Mrs. Briscoe,
Yes.
Mr. Bush,
Yes.
Mrs. McMillan, Mrs. Ost,
Yes.
Mrs. Ost, sorry, Mrs. Tunney.
Yes.
Okay, motion passed. Next up is the MOU for shared access to Willow Crest Drive.
I move to approve the agreements with neighbors at 19614 South Wolf Road and 19618 South Wolf Road as presented. Ooh.
All right. All right, Anna seconded. Any discussion? Please call the vote.
Mr. Andreessen,
Yes.
Mrs. Briscoe, Mr. Bush,
Yes.
Mrs. McMillan, Mrs. Ost,
Yes.
Mrs. Tunney,
Yes.
Mrs. Zelinski.
Okay, motion passed. Last but not least, MES roof restoration.
I move to approve the contract with Melcor Roofing in an amount not to exceed $184,000 for a roofing restoration project at MES in the summer of 2025 as presented.
Second by Zelinski.
Just a comment. I appreciate the discussion again yesterday about restoration versus replacement. It mimicked what Mr. Rana had said before, but it was nice to see the material as well, because that was something I was struggling with, restoration versus replacement. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, call the vote.
Sorry,
hang on. Pause that. More discussion.
I forgot to acknowledge this, but I think it was helpful as well to bring him. I would have engaged. I didn't think I could have in the audience. Otherwise, I would have. So thank you for that. And I just want to highlight, this is because we were under on the MIS roof, that we are able to, for that same total amount, now accomplish more at MES, which is a really big benefit. And thank you, Dr. Shaw, for your hard work on that.
You're welcome.
Yeah. It's one of those things where get the vendor while they're out there. you can, okay, please call the vote.
Mrs. Briscoe.
Yes.
Mr. Bush.
Yes.
Mrs. McMillan. Mrs. Ost.
Yes.
Mrs. Tunney.
Yes.
Mrs. Zelinski. Mr. Andreessen.
Okay, motion passed. Items for the May 21st agenda.
As you know, after my report today about the 2 FTEs, is there any issue with the board allowing us to post for those positions? And I can see us bringing those back as action items. Hopefully we can secure staff members for those positions. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I think one of those positions in particular is going to be good for us. So, yeah.
I guess my only question, which I didn't, maybe we should talk about this after, but, you know, besides hiring a teacher for is it just EL? Is it an EL teacher? Like besides hiring a teacher, are there any other options of like a cooperative type of, joint district thing? Or, I mean, because we have that, the problem is we're approaching that point, and so that's why we would need it in-house, right? That's the mandate, is we have it in-house, we hire. Okay, so
yeah.
we don't even need to address it. I get it, and I would support, I speak for myself, hiring those 2 positions next month is fine with me.
Okay. Follow-up discussion for the good of Mokena. I would just say that all the principals stole my thunder. I was going to announce Administrative Professionals Day, but they did as well, so that's good. I think it's April 23rd, 24th? 24th.
I think it's the 23rd.
I thought it was 23rd, but maybe. It's definitely not October. We know that. Double check. Double check. Okay.
I just wanted to remind everyone to try and, we don't often get to speak up for the village and their planning. So just reiterating the April 22nd comprehensive plan meeting.
And congratulations to our new mayor of Mokena.
I have one thing, one more. Last month, I meant to bring this newspaper article, but I forgot it. So I just wanted to do a shout out. This was a shout out to Mr. Martinez, your award winner and teacher. And they just wrote a really great article on him in the Mokena Star.
And his writing club.
And about his writing club, yeah. Yes, that's it.
A man of many clubs.
I'd just like to thank Mrs. Blank back there for all the years, Volley for a Cure, the thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars that have been raised. I would not want to be in the shoes that have to replace her.
Still pretty capable.
Yes, yes.
And you're not going far. You're going to still be around.
Do we have it 23rd, 24th? Do we know, Dr. Romanitis? Do we?
23rd.
23rd? 23rd it is. Okay. April. Just so everyone knows. Okay. I move that the Board of Education adjourn to closed session for purposes of employment compensation, discipline, performance, dismissal of specific employees, and collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives. Any discussion? Please call the vote.
Mrs. McMillan. Mrs. Ost. Mrs. Tunney. Mrs. Zelinski.
Good night.
Mr. Andreessen.
Thanks for coming.
Mrs. Briscoe. Mr. Bush.
Yes. Okay. 10 minutes?
Yep, 10 minutes.